Good evening. It is January 11th, 2011. Second video blog of the year. I have to comment about the Jared Lee Loughner story down here in my office. And this has really bugged me, the way this very unfortunate, tragic event, the killing of 6 individuals, including a 9-year-old girl, an elderly woman, federal judge, and the shooting of a congresswoman in the head. I mean, this is so tragic, but I mean, it really upsets me that this moment would be exploited for political purposes and grounded on zero facts support some of the rhetoric we're hearing coming out from the media on this story. So anyway, most of you have already heard about the story. In fact, all of you have. If you haven't, you've been living under a rock the last couple days. I believe the shooting happened on Saturday before any facts came out. Literally moments after the shooting. We didn't even know the shooter's name yet. People in the media were already coming out and blaming this on the Tea Party, blaming it on the so-called right wing, without any facts, nothing. Blaming on people who oppose big government, who support smaller government and more liberty, individual liberties. Those people were to blame. Immediately, the media, the corporate media, especially MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, all these guys, and believe I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan at all of Fox News. Really, I mean they're doing a fine job in some ways, like Andrew Napolitano, and sometimes Glenn Beck's okay. But they were, they rolled over during the Bush administration. But that's going off topic. The corporate media immediately pinned this on the Tea Party before any facts came out. They were ready. They were just itching to blame this on opposition to Obama. They've been waiting for this moment, and they had the script ready, and they were just ready to go immediately. Paul Krugman, the New York Times, it just went on the tirade against the Tea Party. Some people even calling for what could only be interpreted as suppression of free speech in this country, saying that we shouldn't be criticizing the government the way we are. Anyway, let's look at the facts, since the New York Times, MSNBC, and all these other corporate media outlets don't want to look at the facts. Let's look at the facts. Loughner was clearly mentally ill, very unstable, schizophrenic. If you look at some of his YouTube videos, they didn't make any sense. One YouTube video, he talked about something about being his own Secretary of Treasury and issuing his own currency backed by gold or something, and so the media used that as, that's evidence that he's libertarian. But I mean, if you look at the video, it made zero sense. It was completely incoherent. I mean, the guy was clearly schizophrenic. All his classmates said that he was a creep. They freaked him out. They were worried that he was going to come into school with a gun. The professor was freaked out by him, was afraid the student might shoot him. I mean, this was not... this was not your normal political activist. He had another fact, he had a very odd jumble of favorite books that ranged from fascist literature to communist literature to libertarian literature, just all across the entire spectrum. Adolf Hitler, Mein Kampf, Karl Marx, Communist Manifesto, Ayn Rand, We the Living, George Orwell, 1984, Huxley, Brave New World. I always get his first name mixed up. I mean, these books don't go together. If you're a communist, even though communists and fascists generally dislike each other, hate each other, I mean, they both believe in totalitarian government and all that, and they actually have a lot of commonalities. But generally, Marx and Hitler don't go together. And definitely Ayn Rand is opposed to everything that Hitler stood for and everything Marx stood for. George Orwell hated the likes of Hitler and totalitarians. I mean, so this is just, an incoherent list thoughts. He has no political ideology that you could pinpoint. So we know that. He was described by his classmates as a left-wing pothead. Okay, again, not very typical of what you associate with someone who is, quote, far right, as all the media outlets claimed he was. And again, I've said this a bunch of times. I'm going to make a video blog on it sometimes. I mean, this whole stuff about left, right, it's so... The terms left and right are so ambiguous, nobody really knows how to define them. We just need to abandon that language altogether, but that's a different topic. So he was described by his classmates as that. Giffords was a blue dog Democrat. What that means, she was a more conservative Democrat. She wasn't Republican, but she voted against Nancy Pelosi being minority leader in the House. Just very recently voted against Pelosi. She owns a gun. So she wasn't your typical, like, maniac Democrat. Or, Daily Kos, that the very, very pro-Obama website you might have heard of. After Giffords, this is only 2 days before the shooting, just 2 days before the shooting, the Daily Kos publishes an article saying that Giffords is dead to me because she voted against Pelosi and opposed some of that agenda. Okay, so, the Tea Party's getting blamed for violent rhetoric. Yet all this time, it's the left that is doing all this. And then the other fact about Jared Lee Loughner, he's an occultist. He had fake human skulls. He was involved in all sorts of really weird, odd stuff. He was obsessed with mind control. I mean, the guy was a complete nutcase. And here's the thing. Nuts have always existed in history. They will always exist in history, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. You could have a 1984 surveillance state where nobody's allowed to own guns and there's cameras in everybody's house, and still you're going to have guys like Loughner finding a way to do this kind of stuff. It's happened all throughout our history. We've had nutcases do this kind of thing. The man who assassinated James Garfield in the latter half of the 19th century was mentally insane. I mean, these things happen, and they're very unfortunate, but the media is acting like this is an exceptional case, and that we all need to be alarmed, and that there's going to be shootings all over the country. I mean, it's gotten hysterical how some of the rhetoric coming from the media in the aftermath of this shooting. There was the shooter who went to a school board not that long ago. I forgot the guy's name. He painted a V, the V for Vendetta, logo at the school board meeting and missed, fortunately. But that guy was a nut. And his favorite website was Media Matters, and he was a very big Obama supporter. He was upset because he wasn't getting unemployment checks or something. I mean, so this stuff happens no matter what your political opinion is. So anyway, what has the media said? They said there's too much heated rhetoric. There's that people need to tone it down. They've talked about gun control, as if that would stop lunatics from killing people. I mean, if guns are banned, then the only people who are going to possess guns are criminals. If you couldn't get access to a gun, and believe me, guns would be everywhere in the black market if they were banned. But if he couldn't get access to a gun, he could have used a knife. He could have set off a bomb. I mean, there's no way to stop this kind of stuff. And maybe if more people were armed in that area, like regular law-abiding citizens, they would have been able to stop Loughner before he killed 6 people and injured, 20 others? So people are calling for gun control. That's predictable. It happens every single time. I used to do it too, I mean, I used to be of this persuasion, and every time there was a shooting, we need to ban guns, as if that was a solution, But historically, it's been, tyrants have always been the ones banning guns. Hitler banned guns for the Jews. Stalin banned guns for the Russians. Racist slaveholders in the South banned guns for slaves. So gun control has a bad history. But of course, people are calling for it. It's expected. But this whole heated rhetoric thing is so hypocritical. Just hypocrisy is everywhere from the left. They have no memory of the Bush era. And you know what? I'm defending the heated rhetoric from either side, and I thought a lot of the rhetoric coming from the left and myself during the Bush era was good. It was positive, but because Bush was waging unconstitutional wars, taking away civil liberties, the Patriot Act, running up the national debt. Bush was an awful president, but the left has forgotten that the rhetoric during the Bush era was equally heated. The protesters were banning Bush in effigy, burning Bush in effigy. People in the news media associated Bush with Adolf Hitler, called him a Nazi, used all sorts of violent rhetoric, or heated rhetoric, so to speak, to use their words, all throughout the Bush era. Okay, in 2004, if an anti-war activist shot a neocon congresswoman or congressman in the head and killed him, would it have been right for people to blame anti-war activists in general for the shooting? No, of course it wouldn't have, because that was it. What matters is the individual, and it's the hypocrisy is astounding, absolutely astounding. We need to defend free speech no matter where it's coming from, no matter who says it, no matter what the position is, and no matter how much we may disagree with it. We must defend the free speech of communists, of libertarians, of fascists, of neo-Nazis, of KKK people, of Black Panthers, of militant Christians, or whoever. I mean, it doesn't matter. We live in a society with free speech, and that's that. And sometimes there's a price to pay for that, but there is no connection anyway between the so-called heated rhetoric of today and the shooting. Loughner, there's zero evidence that Loughner listened to talk radio. They're all blaming talk radio for this. There's zero evidence that he liked Sarah Palin. I guarantee you the guy didn't like Sarah Palin. There's zero evidence that he listened to Glenn Beck or any of those guys. I mean, his Communist Manifesto was one of his favorite books. I mean, so this is absolutely absurd, and the people in the media who have been saying all these things, they won't do this, but they really need to come out and apologize and retract their statements, because they exploited this very unfortunate tragedy. I mean, that 6 people died, and people, and they're playing politics when there's no facts to even back them up, But anyway, yeah, I mean, I keep saying this is a tragedy, and it is. It's a tragedy anyone dies. But what's an even greater tragedy, and I'll just wrap this up here, and I know this is sort of off topic, but what's an even greater tragedy are the tens of thousands of innocent civilians in Pakistan, Iraq, and Afghanistan who have died under the Obama administration, and the million others who died during the Bush administration. Why aren't we mourning that? Why aren't we outraged at the murder of those people? It doesn't matter what country you're a citizen of. The death of anybody is tragic. It doesn't matter if you're a congresswoman or a federal judge or a 9-year-old girl or a Pakistani or an Iraqi. I mean, it doesn't matter. The death of anyone is tragic. Unfortunately, though, in this country, we obsess about, and again, we should care about this story. I'm not saying otherwise, but we obsess about the death of 6 people. But then when Obama sends an unmanned droned aircraft over the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan and wipes out 80 innocent civilians, this is on record last year at a wedding, who had zero connection to Al-Qaeda, and we admit it later, oops, we messed up. I mean, and the media doesn't even cover it. It doesn't get any coverage anywhere. It's not in any newspaper. You have to search very hard to find it anywhere. I mean, that's real sad, and that says a lot about us as a country. We need to be concerned about the deaths of anybody, not just congressmen or congresswomen, not just judges, not just Americans, but anybody who dies from unwarranted violence. Anyway, that's all I have to say, and I will speak to you guys later. Bye.